The disturbing diet of white slave owners. During the era of slavery in the United States, the diet of white slave owners was closely connected to the historical context of that time. It is crucial to address this subject with empathy and comprehension, recognizing the immense pain and mistreatment experienced by enslaved individuals. Welcome to our channel. Subscribe and let's dive in. Today, we are going to share a sad and dehuman incident which was happened during the 16th and 19th centuries in the world. Who is the slave? In a historical context, a slave refers to a person who is owned by another individual or group and forced to work without consent or pay. Slavery has existed in various forms throughout history and across different cultures, with slaves being subjected to harsh and often brutal living conditions. In many instances, slavery was based on race, ethnicity, or social status, and it involved the profound dehumanization and exploitation of those held in bondage. Slaving is a term used to describe the act of engaging in the slave trade or the practice of owning and trading slaves. It refers to the historical and reprehensible practice of capturing, buying, selling, and transporting individuals, often from Africa, to be enslaved and exploited in various parts of the world, particularly during the Transatlantic slave trade era. Slavery is as old as human civilization, dating back beyond recorded history, and it exists even today. In every culture on every continent that practiced some form of slavery, whether it was self-dom, indentured servitude, or collective peasantry. However, when the slave trade is mentioned, people normally think of the black African slave trade in the Western Hemisphere. During the colonial period, from the 1500s to the mid-1800s, as practiced by the European colonial powers. Estimates range from 10 to 13 million Africans being brought to the New World, with around 10 million surviving to be sold in North and South America and the Caribbean islands. Of this number, the best estimate is that 450,000 went to the British, French and Spanish colonies in what is now the United States and the Caribbean. Brazil received almost 5 million, and the rest went to the Spanish colonies and South America. The transatlantic slave trade, which lasted from the 16th to the 19th century, involved the forced transportation of millions of Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas and other regions. Slaves were subjected to unimaginable suffering, dehumanization, and cruelty as they were forced into labor on plantations, mines, and other industries. When discussing the history of the transatlantic slave trade, it also combined with a crucial, dehumanistic thing called white cannibalism. Consuming the flesh or body parts of one's own species is known as cannibalism. It has been observed in various cultures throughout history, but it should be noted that it is not tied to any specific race or ethnicity. Cannibalism has been practiced in different parts of the world and among diverse groups of people, including some indigenous communities, isolated tribes, and individuals with severe mental disorders. Barcia is a Latin American history professor at the University of Leeds in England. Barcia examined the story of the Portuguese slave trading ship Arrogante, which was captured by British forces off the coast of Cuba with more than 330 African slaves aboard in 1837, after the slave trade and slavery had been abolished by Portugal. After being freed, many former slaves reported that while at sea, the Portuguese sailors had killed an enslaved man, cooked his flesh, and forced the rest of those enslaved on board to eat it. They also accused the sailors of eating the man's heart and liver. Local British authorities investigated, but the sailors were never found guilty. The condition of these ships was inhumane. The African slaves were locked up below the deck in cramped quarters and only had a little opportunity to be out in the sunlight, and they were forced to carry out certain enforced exercises in the form of dancing to ensure that they were healthy and in good posture when they get to Europe. Research published in 1794 estimated that a man inside the deck had just a space of 6 feet by 1 foot 4 inches, and a woman had 5 feet by 1 foot 4 inches. Their major food was horse beans and rice. Africa had several powerful and prosperous kingdoms and empires, each with its own unique political, social, and economic systems. Some notable examples include the Kingdom of Ghana, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, the Kingdom of Aksum, and the Great Zimbabwe Civilization. They had their systems of governance, culture, and technological achievements. The impact of the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism had profound and devastating consequences for many African communities, disrupting social structures, economies, and cultures. Understanding the richness and complexity of pre-colonial African history is essential to appreciate the continent's heritage and contributions to the world. Did the slave people continue to engage in this slavery, or did they try to stand up against it? Let's move forward to find about that, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to join with more like this. The history of African American resistance against slavery serves as a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the desire for freedom and dignity. It's essential to recognize that these acts of resistance were incredibly risky, as enslaved individuals faced severe punishment or death if caught. During the period of slavery in the United States, there were numerous conflicts between African slaves and white slave owners over the issue of freedom and the conditions of enslavement. These conflicts were a result of the inherent injustice and brutality of the institution of slavery. Enslaved Africans engaged in various forms of resistance and rebellion against their oppressors. Slave owners used brutal methods to maintain control over enslaved Africans and suppress any resistance. Punishments such as whippings, mutilation, and even death were common for those who rebelled or attempted to escape. This included acts of sabotage, work slowdowns, escape attempts, and organized rebellions. Some notable rebellions, such as the Stono Rebellion, 1739, in South Carolina, and the Nat Turner Rebellion, 1831 in Virginia, were significant challenges to the slave system. As more enslaved individuals escaped to seek freedom in the northern states or Canada, tensions increased. To address this, the U.S. Congress passed fugitive slave laws that required northern states to return escaped slaves to their owners, even if slavery was illegal in those states. The term white cannibalism seems to be a misnomer or a misunderstanding, as cannibalistic practices are not tied to a specific race or ethnicity. Rather, incidents of cannibalism have been documented in different cultures and societies across the world, including some indigenous tribes, ancient civilizations, and during extreme survival situations. In modern times, cannibalism is universally condemned and illegal in most countries, as well as in the United States of America. The decline of cannibalistic practices can be attributed to factors such as the spread of civilization, cultural changes, the influence of laws and religion, and increased awareness of human rights. While there is no specific federal law against cannibalism, it is generally prosecuted under other statutes related to murder, desecration of human remains, and other criminal offenses. The exact laws and penalties may vary from state to state, but cannibalism would typically fall under homicide or similar charges. It is important to note that while cannibalism itself is illegal and morally reprehensible, it is also an exceedingly rare crime in modern societies. The legal system and societal norms strongly discourage and condemn such acts. If you suspect or encounter any information related to cannibalism or any other illegal activity, you should report it to the appropriate authorities immediately. A world without slavery and cannibalism would be a more just, humane, and compassionate place. All individuals would be free and treated as equals, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or social background. This would allow for a more inclusive and diverse society, fostering a greater appreciation of humanity's differences and strengths. Achieving a world without slavery requires ongoing efforts to address underlying issues such as poverty, inequality, and social injustice. It involves promoting education, empathy, and understanding among communities worldwide. By working together to build a more equitable and compassionate society, we can move closer to realizing this vision of a better world. Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.